If I had missed that flight, my life would have been completely different. If I had ignored that email, I would have been safe. And if I had listened to the small, quiet voice in my head, I would never have ended up locked inside a luxury apartment in Dubai without my passport. Before I begin, I need to ask you something. What do you do for a living? And have you ever experienced something strange, something that didn't feel right at work? Please write your profession and your story in the comments. And if stories like this matter to you, stories that might protect someone, please subscribe. Because what I'm about to tell you is not fiction. It happened to me, and maybe it can save someone else. I'm telling this now because I've worked through the fear. For years, I couldn't even say the word Dubai without shaking. Now I can talk about it calmly, but back then I was 27, hopeful, ambitious, and completely unprepared for how convincing evil can look when it's dressed in elegance. I grew up in a small Midwestern town. After college, I worked retail, then in hospitality. I wasn't unhappy, but I felt stuck. I wanted something bigger. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to feel special, chosen. One evening, scrolling through social media, I saw an advertisement. International modeling opportunity in Dubai. No experience required. Housing provided. High income, limited spots. I wasn't a model, but I had done small promotional gigs, trade shows, local fashion events. I sent in my photos almost as a joke. 2 days later, I received a response. Professional email, beautiful website, testimonials, photos of women smiling beside skyscrapers and beaches. The recruiter scheduled a video call. She spoke fluent English with a slight accent. She was polished, reassuring, warm. She said Dubai was booming. They needed promotional models for luxury events, yacht shows, hotel openings. She explained the contract. 3 months, company apartment, transportation provided, good pay, flights covered. It sounded legitimate, too legitimate. My parents were hesitant. My father asked practical questions about visas and contracts. The agency sent documents. Everything looked official. I signed. I remember standing in the airport, suitcase in hand, feeling like my real life was finally beginning. When I landed in Dubai, the airport felt like the future. Glass, light, gold everywhere. A driver held a sign with my name. He didn't speak much English, but smiled politely. He took my suitcase and guided me to a black SUV. I expected to see other girls. I expected an office visit. Instead, we drove nearly 40 minutes away from the city center. The apartment building was tall and modern. Inside, the lobby was marble and silent. He handed me off to a woman I hadn't seen before. She introduced herself briefly and said they would handle paperwork tomorrow. Then she asked for my passport. "It's for visa processing," she said. I hesitated for half a second. That was the last time I held my passport for months. The apartment was spacious, but strangely empty. No decorations, minimal furniture. There were already 3 other girls inside, 2 from Eastern Europe, 1 from South America. They looked tired, not jet-lag tired, something else. They hugged me like they'd been waiting. That night, one of them whispered, "You shouldn't have come." My stomach dropped. The next morning, there was no modeling job, no casting, no orientation. Instead, we were given strict rules. We were told when to wake up, what to wear, when to be ready. When one girl asked for her passport back, the woman in charge smiled without warmth. "You are under contract. If you leave, you owe us money for your flight, your housing, your processing fees." The number she mentioned was impossible. Tens of thousands of dollars. That was the moment I understood. I wasn't there for modeling, and I wasn't free. But what came next was worse than I could have imagined. The first week felt unreal, like I was watching someone else's life. They didn't scream at us. They didn't chain us. That's what makes it harder to explain. It was quiet control, calm pressure. smiles that never reached the eyes. Our phones were confiscated for security. We were told we could request supervised calls home once a week, but every request was postponed. The apartment door required a keycard. Only the supervisors had it. There were cameras in the hallway outside. Inside, we were constantly reminded that the building had security. We were driven to events. That's what they called them. Luxury hotels, private villas, yachts. We were told to smile, to sit beside guests, to entertain them with conversation, to look grateful. If someone refused to attend, she didn't eat that day. If someone argued, she was isolated in a locked room for hours. There was no physical violence at first, it was psychological. They reminded us daily how much we owed. They said the police would arrest us if we tried to run because our visas were tied to the company. One girl tried to leave. She made it to the elevator before security stopped her. After that, we didn't see her for 3 days. When she returned, she didn't speak anymore. She just stared at the wall. That was enough to keep the rest of us compliant. I remember one evening standing on a balcony overlooking the city lights. Dubai looked beautiful, glittering, alive, free. I felt completely invisible inside it. We tried to form a plan, quietly, whispering at night, calculating risks, but none of us had passports, none of us had money, none of us even knew the exact address of the building. They kept us disoriented on purpose. Time blurred. Days became weeks. I stopped recognizing myself in the mirror. I looked polished, styled, presentable, but empty behind the eyes. The worst part wasn't what we were forced to do. It was the constant humiliation of having no control, being treated like inventory, being told to smile through discomfort. One afternoon, I overheard 2 supervisors talking in the kitchen. They mentioned selling contracts to other groups if girls became uncooperative. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I realized something terrifying. This could last forever, unless something changed. And something did, but not in the way I expected. The night I met him, I had almost stopped hoping. We were taken to a private event in a large villa outside the city. Music played softly. Wealthy guests mingled. Everything looked elegant. I was sitting alone near the edge of the garden when a man in his late 40s approached. He wasn't flashy, no loud watch, no arrogant posture, just calm. He asked where I was from. I gave the scripted answer we were trained to give. He paused. "That's not your real story," he said quietly. Something in his tone felt different, not probing, not demanding, just observant. I didn't respond. Cameras were everywhere, supervisors nearby, but he didn't leave. Instead, he asked simple questions about my family, about what I studied, about what I actually wanted to do with my life. I felt my throat tighten. No one had asked me that in months. Before he walked away, he said softly, "If you need help, look at me directly." It sounded strange, but I remembered it. Later that evening, one of the supervisors told me I'd be attending a private after event. My chest tightened with dread. As I was led toward a separate lounge area, I saw him again across the room, and I did something that terrified me. I looked at him directly, not a polite glance, a plea. He held my gaze. The next day, everything shifted. We weren't taken to an event. Instead, I was called into the main office inside the building for the first time. The man was there, sitting calmly with the woman who ran the operation. Money was discussed. Contracts were referenced. I didn't understand everything, but I understood enough. He was paying for my release. The amount made my head spin. It was framed as a business transaction, a transfer of contract, cold, clinical. Within hours, my passport was returned. Just like that. No apology, no explanation. Just a warning. You are lucky. I packed in silence. The other girls hugged me tightly. Some cried. One whispered, "Don't forget us." That sentence has never left me. He didn't touch me. He didn't ask for anything. He simply arranged the flight. At the airport, he handed me a new ticket and said, "Go home and tell the truth someday." I asked him why. He said, "Because someone should." Then he walked away. Coming home wasn't the happy ending I imagined. I thought I would feel relief immediately. Instead, I felt guilt. Why me? Why was I the one who got out? For months, I couldn't sleep properly. Loud noises made me jump. I avoided crowded spaces. I avoided mirrors. My family knew something had gone wrong, but I couldn't describe it. How do you explain being reduced to a transaction? I considered going to authorities, but the contracts, the foreign jurisdiction, the lack of physical evidence, it all felt overwhelming. And I was scared. Instead, I focused on therapy. That's where healing began. My therapist explained coercive control, psychological captivity, how manipulation works gradually, how intelligent people can still be trapped. It wasn't about being foolish. It was about being targeted. I learned to forgive myself. I learned that shame belongs to those who exploit, not those who survive. Over time, I started researching recruitment scams, fake agencies, contract traps, passport confiscation tactics. It happens more often than people realize, and not only in one country. What saved me wasn't strength. It was someone noticing. That's why I'm telling this now, because sometimes evil doesn't look violent. Sometimes it looks like opportunity, and that's what makes it dangerous. If you're watching this and considering a job overseas, please listen carefully. Verify everything independently. Never surrender your passport. Keep digital and paper copies of all documents. Share your location with trusted people. Research labor laws in the destination country. Trust discomfort. That quiet inner voice matters. I replay that airport moment often. If I had asked more questions, if I had insisted on holding my passport, if I had trusted hesitation. But regret doesn't change the past. Action can change someone else's future. I still don't know why that man helped me. I never saw him again. Maybe he had daughters. Maybe he had once ignored something and regretted it. Maybe he simply chose to intervene. I can't save the girls who hugged me goodbye that day. But maybe this story can reach someone standing in an airport right now, holding a ticket that feels too good to be true. The image was beautiful. The reality was not. If you've ever experienced something strange at work, pressure, control, manipulation, share it. Silence protects the wrong people. Tell me in the comments what you do for a living. Have you ever felt something wasn't right but couldn't explain why? And please subscribe, not for numbers, but so these warnings travel further than I ever did. If this reaches even one person before they board that flight, then the fear I felt remembering this was worth it. I survived, and now you know.